Hello and welcome to the GameShop MythCast, episode number 3. I am your host, Mythology's very own vocal terrorist, Jesse Voctor Rain. Today, we are looking at the play of none other than Mythology's Red Zerg player, Xeno! And he is up against ATcm's Blue Protoss, Giant! So, strap yourselves in. This is going to be a long one. This is actually a video I recorded a very, very long time ago with my close personal friend, the Czechoslovakian StarCraft 2 broadcaster, Belle Noire. Unfortunately, due to some audio problems, I was never able to put it online. Gave myself some time, now I'm back with it. And I've just got a brand new sound set up. The microphone is in a completely different place, so hopefully you don't pick up any more keystrokes. As well as that, brand new set of headphones as well, so all my sound should be a lot crisper. If anything has changed for you, if there's anything you don't like about the sound, anything you want me to change about it, please let me know. Just get in touch. And I'm quite happy to still be playing about with a lot of the settings, because obviously we want this experience to be as good as it can possibly be for you. So, for those of you just joining us here on MythCast, we are Mythology GameShop. GameShop being our main sponsor. And, I have to say, absolutely fantastic sponsor. They are so supportive. And we are a professional StarCraft 2 team based in Holland, although our players are from all around Europe, including myself, who is of course in the UK. That said, I am not the player, I'm merely the official broadcaster and voice of the team. What I do is, every week, Monday to Friday, on this channel, I will bring you these mythcasts. And we already have, well, an expansion hatch going down, with a pylon on the high ground. Xeno, you need to check for this pylon. Xeno! Oh my god. Cannon going down. Obviously, we've already seen the forge. We knew that Trixie was coming. Xeno knows about the cannon now. He knows about the second cannon and the third cannon. And he throws down the lull. Now, this pylon is very well protected, and these cannons and pylons are going down. We already do have 4 lings out, but this is a lot of production down. And in terms of production, I just mean building production. Giant is investing a lot in this, but of course, if he can force the cancel here, or even the kill once it's up, it will entirely be worth it. 1 cannon is up and is protected. So now, these lings will all die. The drones have to be pulled. This hatchery has to be cancelled. You cannot let it finish. There is just no way. Giant could even go ahead and cancel 1 or even 2 of these. And there we see the cancels coming down. Could even see him cancelling this one, to be quite honest. Although it will be annoying, so can be worth leaving up. Is this in range? In fact, this isn't even in range. I would go ahead and cancel this, quite honestly. But this hatchery is going to die. It's as simple as that. And, well, Giant has complete control of this matchup now. His opponent's build has been completely stymied here. And we're at the point where Xeno is even expanding miles away. It's so far away. He's not taking the natural 3rd, nor even the natural 4th. Going all the way to where the 5th or even 6th base would be, because he cannot afford to be cannon rushed again. This is a huge problem for Xeno. He's just going to be so far behind in this game. Now, Giant, of course, did invest a lot in taking that down, so his own build will be slower. However, this base is in such a vulnerable position, we could definitely see a problem later on, should Giant come across it, where it'll be so easy to take down. There's just no way Xeno can reinforce it. And of course, these cannons are still going to be here, still being annoying. Even now taking down the lava in production here. So, very frustrating for Xeno. His whole build is going to be so far behind, whereas his opponent has a very nice advantage. You can see his opponent already has a worker advantage and is setting up to be able to expand down here. He already has the probe in position to do so. I have to say, very much liking this from the ATcm player. Just showing some really good early aggressive Protoss play here on Acheron Waste. Not the kind of thing you normally expect to see as a player, and building it here was just a stroke of genius. So now we're going to see the Queens and Spine Crawlers moving forward to start to take down these cannons. The cannon will do as much damage to this Spine Crawler as it can. But of course, once this pylon at the front here goes down, these cannons will no longer have high ground vision. So the Spine Crawlers can sit up here and take everything down. Even more Spine Crawlers being added here by Xeno. He wants to clear this out, and he wants to be safe for any follow-up aggression. Speaking of follow-up aggression, we have the Zealot, Stalker, and Mothership Core heading out. Personally, I actually prefer the Zealot Mothership Core for this, but hey, who am I to judge? Stalker sees, well, there's a lot of Spine Crawlers here. It tries to get some high ground vision for the cannons, but instead gets blown to pieces. So that was really not the best use of that Stalker so far, but the Mothership Core can definitely be annoying here now. It's going to start to take down Spine Crawlers and just continue to pressure Xeno, and Xeno with only the one Queen out here, working on birthing a second one. But these Spine Crawlers will start to fall. The Mothership Core are actually quite effective at taking them down, going to force them to move back into range of the Queen, but the Queen itself can actually die here if he's not careful. As we can see, that Mothership Core will kill it in time, but Spore Crawler is out, and now losing that Mothership Core would be huge, so he drops the Time Warp to see if he can stop the Queen. Get out of range of that Spore Crawler, though. And at 8 HP, it goes down, so Xeno's starting to claw his way back into this game now. Giant, however, already expanded, has the wall off complete. Xeno does have his expansion up, and is just trying to mine some gas from it at this point, so that he can head into the production of Mutalisks. We do have 6 meters on the way, which will allow him to get some harassment of his own done. If we just take a quick look at the worker count, look at this, 10 ahead for Giant, and Giant has double Stargates finished now. You could definitely see him going into heavy Phoenix or even Void Ray builds. I don't think it would be worth going Oracle at this point. Well, oh my god! That's a Fleet Beacon! That's a +1 attack! Ladies and gentlemen, what we have here is a carrier build. Oh my word. So Giant is going for carriers. Xeno, however, is going for the Mutalisks, and the Mutalisks are in this base and doling out some sick damage at this point. Xeno doing everything he can to get back into this game. The sentry being annoying, but it will get taken down, losing some gas. Only the one cannon there at this point, and all the workers have had to be pulled. 9 workers killed for Xeno now. It's going to be 10 in a second. Potentially even 11 there, and he's not going to try and focus on the Nexus, instead going up into the main base, and is going to start to pick off these Stalkers as they are created. As well as that, should be able to start to pick off Phoenixes as they come out. Phoenixes, of course, faster, but without the range upgrade, are not able to kite indefinitely. And the Mutas, meanwhile, just picking off pylons, being as annoying as they can possibly be. Now, Xeno needs to not chase these Phoenixes. He needs to start focusing things down, be it workers, be it pylons, just something. Just getting some kills. Oh, nice attempt there to catch a Phoenix and just get the health bars up so that we can see everything that is going on at this point. These Mutas are going to start to be picked off, so they're choosing to focus down as many workers as they possibly can before they do all die. The final Muta falls, and we see a total of 18 workers killed, and that makes things look a lot better. We've got 40 drones to 27 probes. So Xeno at this point, with the third base coming up at his natural expansion, is starting to look a little better. But the problem he has is 2 Stargates. And where is that fleet? Where did he build the fleet beacon? Did he cancel the fleet beacon? Because I genuinely don't see it anywhere on this map. I think he must have cancelled the fleet beacon. Either he cancelled it or it was picked up by those Mutas, and that is fantastic. We have a large force of Phoenixes out at this point for Giant. Gonna try and come in here and do some damage. Only the one Queen, a couple of Hydras, 2 Spore Crawlers going up, but not quite finished in time. So some damage done, but 1 Phoenix killed there is nice. Man, I'm really upset if... yeah, there's no fleet beacon. I feel like I'm gonna cry. We were going to see carriers. Giant, why would you do this? We had such a lovely thing going on, and then you just took it away from me. I feel like you've abandoned me at the altar, Giant. That's how I feel right now. But anyway, putting our sadness aside to concentrate on the fantastic game that we have sitting up ahead of us. Of course, Xeno still has this very, very tough to defend forward base because of that early cannon rush. And we can see Giant wants to put the hurt on. And by put the hurt on, I mean he wants to drop 2 forward pylons and he wants to hit this hard. And now Xeno is going to be aware of that. He has a force of nothing but Hydras out, and that can get taken apart a bit if he's not careful. Of course, right now the Phoenixes can't engage it directly, but forward pylons are going to be found. Sentries, I don't know if that was the wisest thing to attack with. Another forward pylon going to go down, and the probe up here is going to throw another one, and Xeno does see it. Xeno does see it. Xeno! It's on the mini-map! Xeno! Xeno, turn around! Well, Xeno's going to leave that forward pylon there right now. Bad, Xeno! Bad! Meanwhile, Giant is trying desperately to defend this front. And Zealots are just getting picked off so quickly by these Hydras. The damage is insane, but the Phoenixes are coming back now to start to pick them off. Can be quite effective against Hydras in small numbers, if the Hydras are in small numbers, that is. But these Phoenixes are now all dying, and that's a heavy, heavy gas investment being lost there by Giant. Obviously, it's enough to eventually hold off the Hydras, but that is a lot less than we previously had. Finally, the fleet beacon is going to go down again, so perhaps this time Tempest rather than carriers. We'll have to wait and see. But, you know, I've got my fingers crossed. Got my fingers crossed that what we are going to see is carriers. Baby, yeah. And right now it is carriers! We're also getting the Graviton Catapult upgrade coming out of the fleet beacon. So this is a heavy, heavy investment into air for Giant. Meanwhile, Xeno really just kind of sitting on this composition. He's getting some upgrades out. He's also got the Roach pouring down so he can go into Roach Hydra. But Roach Hydra is not the most effective anti-carrier unit. So could be slightly problematic here for Xeno if he does not catch the carriers coming out. Once again, the Hydra's moving in, but there's only a small force of them. That's not enough to really get things done. And I don't know much about Hydras as a strike force in general. I have to be honest. Meanwhile, they are going to potentially start to take these rocks down, giving him a separate path of attack that doesn't involve him going through this wall. Meanwhile, Overlord's being taken down, so the Protoss player can look to take his third base. Right now, I imagine he will be looking to take it here. As these rocks are going down, Xeno doing that job for him. But Giant, well, Giant knows about it. The first carriers are out, but they could get caught by these Hydras if they're not careful. Phoenix is kind of out of position, but I mean, they're Phoenixes, so they're pretty fast. But this carrier could definitely get caught, but Xeno's not focusing on it. He's going for the cannon instead. He has to try to focus on these carriers. Way too late. The Hydras cannot escape this army whatsoever. They are going to try their hardest, but it is going to not come to fruition. Meanwhile, rallying drones back into his expansion base and getting a fourth base up. So Xeno, what do you got to counter this? Well, right now his counter looks to be like 8 Corruptors. Now, Corruptors can be good against carriers. You have to be able to actually get in range of the carrier and kind of ignore the Interceptor. You have to manually target them down. We've got the second Spire going down as well, which is going to allow him to double upgrade his air units to make them more effective. However, we already have air weapons level 2 on the way for Giant. So, Giant definitely going to be ahead in that regard. And, of course, we do have the double carrier production. Now, with all that said, carriers are expensive, as are the oh god, what are they even called? The Interceptors. So he's going to need a high income. Right now, this income is not going to cover it. It's going to cover it for now. He needs to get that higher, and we're not just talking this third base. We are talking this fourth base. That is what Giant is going to be looking at. He's going to be looking at trying to take a lot of bases, get a lot of minerals, a lot of gas. So the lot of minerals is so he can replace these Interceptors. The lot of gas is so he can replace the carriers, because they are incredibly income intensive. Meanwhile, of course, he does still have the forward pylon down. So there is definitely the potential for more attacks into this base. Right now, though, there's a lot of static defense there. So don't know as I would call for that to be happening. Twilight Council also going down. So perhaps for the extra just ground army upgrades, Perhaps maybe a move into some Archons as well. Who knows? We will simply have to wait and find out what the ATcm Protoss player is going to do here. Xeno, meanwhile, is continuing to expand, increasing his income. And of course, knowing about these carriers, setting up to do his best to take them down. We do have +1 flyer carapace and the missile attacks level 2 as well to allow those Hydras to deal the extra DPS. So the game has kind of settled down at this point. Both players really just building up to one particularly large engagement. That's what we're going to be seeing here. Giant wants to hit this perfect air army. He wants all the upgrades. As you can see, he's getting the Templar Archives because he wants maybe some High Templar, maybe some Archons to help deal with the Hydras, to help deal with the Corruptors. But really what he wants is just a big, scary army that will push out across the map and tear his opponent to pieces. He wants an army that Xeno simply cannot engage. Meanwhile, Xeno is simply trying to build up enough income. He wants to build up enough income and enough of an army to somehow take these carriers down. To help with that, we have an infestation pit on the way. Some key fungals could go down in this engagement, funneling the carriers in place, allowing the Corruptors to catch up with them and tear them to shreds. That looks to be Xeno's plan. Meanwhile, these Phoenix is going to be annoying, stopping Xeno from expanding to a 6th location. Meanwhile, we do have a slight bit of Phoenix harassment here, but, I mean, Mutas and Corruptors are just going to tear them apart if they try and engage head on. But that simply isn't going to happen. Meanwhile, oh my word, these carriers look scary. Right now, as we can see, Xeno's income is insane with 99 harvesters. Eventually, he's going to want to get rid of a lot of those drones, turn them into spine crawlers, turn them into spore crawlers, and I would definitely suggest spore crawlers at this point. And oh my god, look at this air army for Xeno. Moving into his opponent's 3rd base, absolutely tearing apart this worker count here. The Phoenix is going to try and engage. We do have a photon overcharge. Honestly, the Mutas could probably just focus that down, but they don't want to engage these carriers just yet. Take a quick look. 29 workers killed in total. And 45 probes is not really enough to continue to sustain this army once the engagements start to go down. So Giant is going to have to rebuild some of that. That was a nice little move by Xeno to delay his opponent. Also going to start to pick off the cannons here, force the opponent to respond. The Hydras, well, 2 Hydras do remain. They will get killed by the Archons moving in. But it was a lure! It was a trap! Because so much is dying again for Giant. The army pulled out of position by a small force of Hydras. The Corruptors trying to get in at these carriers, but they cannot engage head on. This is not the time to be doing that, and these Corruptors need to get out of there as fast as humanly, or I guess zergily, possible. Meanwhile, Xeno's expansion has gone up, or rather is about to go up. It has been planted, and he is, I guess, looking at this, the one thing I can criticize is his creep spread. So what you want to do against this air army is you want vast amounts of creep spread to allow your ground army to move a lot quicker on it, and of course it allows you to chuck down a ton of static defense, just spore crawlers everywhere that your opponent has to deal with every time he wants to engage with you, and it also allows you to retreat over them. Nice catch on this lone carrier. Does get taken down. That is significant mineral and gas investment lost for absolutely nothing there in the hands of Giant. Xeno just focusing on upgrades. Look at those going down. Meanwhile, do we have any infestors actually out on the field yet? No, we do not. Instead, we are an entirely air-based army. 14 Mutas, 31 Corruptors, 3 Infestors are on the way, and a Neural Parasite, so we'll be able to Neural Parasite some of those carriers. Meanwhile, Great Aspire also on the way. The Hive is done. This forward pylon finally going to get taken down. Although has not proved to be that much use anyway throughout this game. A small poke here, trying to get in, do some damage before the carriers engage. And once again, Xeno just going to retreat, and Giant does not want to follow him. Xeno also expanding now Pretty much on the last base that is potentially his. Kind of his opponent's side of the map, though. So, starting to get a little bit risky. Again, I understand why he's not creep spreading, because his army's entirely air. But I still feel like that's something he could have been doing slightly better throughout this game. It's the one criticism I really have of Xeno here. And here come the corruptions. Here go the carriers. One carrier fell there, but so many mutas dying. The infestors a bit too far behind to help out with the fungals. And that's another place where the creep spread would, of course, help out in allowing those infestors to move around just that little bit quicker. Meanwhile, if we take a look at the working count, okay, we got up to a respectable 68 again, although one carrier is going to fall here as Xeno tries to abuse the immobility of his opponent. However, he has hardly any mutas here. It's almost entirely corruptors at this point. So, not able to harass too heavily here. And really has nothing to deal with this ground-based Archon army. And that could potentially be a problem for him in the future. He's going in for another engagement. Picking off carriers though, and look at the corruptions going down! Oh, some wonderful storms, but so many carriers falling right there! Take a look at the income. Okay, the Protoss still has enough income to keep the Interceptor level up, to keep making carriers if he wants to, but it looks like he's transitioning into an Archon-based army, realizing that his opponent has committed heavily to air. These infestors are trying to move down, trying to get close, but he needs to be careful. He doesn't want to get caught by the Archons. Oh, this is tense, this is nervy. The Corruptors once again trying to go in, but it's not going to happen. Guardian Shield is popped. Oh, a lot of infested Terrans dropped down on the ground. Don't know about that. Look at the feedbacks, look at the storms. Oh, ho, ho, ho. All of those infestors being torn apart. Some good fungals do keep them alive, but it's not enough at this point. Even more going down. We're not seeing anything. The infestors are all falling. One fungal gets off. The Corruptors start to move in into the damage zone, and the carriers are falling. They are falling fast, but the Archons are dealing with the damage out now. Hydra's also getting in there. Corruptor's actually retreating to his opponent's side of the map, and there are too many Archons for Xeno to deal with. Oh, ho, ho, my word, this game. 13 Hydras on the way, 9 Corruptors on the way, plus 3 Flyer Carapace, plus 3 Ground Carapace, and plus 2 melee attacks coming out. For Xeno, we have more carriers meanwhile in production. This base is going to get taken down because Giant wants it. That's where Giant wants to expand to next. Is he wants to clear Xeno out of there, clear up this creep, and get a base planted. Meanwhile, we can see Xeno is on the move. Looking to pressure perhaps the front. He has to be careful about this army. This is just such a strong army for the Protoss player. I really feel like there's no way he can try to engage this head on. I just feel like that is going to turn out to be way too painful for him, should he try and do that right now. Instead, let these upgrades finish, and look at this. Look at the amount of spores that are going down now. This is what I was talking about. Now, this is a problem. These Zealot charge-ins are always going to be so difficult for him to deal with. The creep is not connecting those bases. The Hydras do take time to get over there, and this hatchery will simply fall. Look at that. No way you could defend against it. Meanwhile, this hatchery now falls. Now it's Giant's turn to put the hurt on, to pull his opponent apart, to make him move across the map constantly. Notice he doesn't try to attack into all this static defense. Instead, he just wants to force Xeno to move around. Now, Xeno is going to be a little bit annoying up here, but, well, Giant is already pushing in to clear this up. This hatchery, once it goes down, will not be staying down for that long, one would suspect. Meanwhile, he is going to try and do a charge in here, and there aren't that many spine crawlers, so once they start to go down, nice transfuses, by the way. Xeno's actually going to struggle to continue to hold this, and that's another spine crawler gone. That's another spine crawler gone, and there's more and more zealots coming in. Xeno's army is all the way over here. It's not moving back to defend. Instead, he's looking to trade a base for a base. He's even going to start taking the spore crawlers here. So it is base for a base time. Hydra's charging in here. Gonna pick off this Nexus very quickly, but in return, he is losing a hatchery. Now, of course, this hatchery was not mining. This was the initial expansion for Xeno. But still, that's lava that's gone. That's production that's gone. And that's an awful lot of static defense that's lost. Meanwhile, Xeno continuing to push up into here. And Giant is going to be pulling back now because he needs to keep this production alive more than anything. The important thing for him, we do have Locust also out for Xeno now. Made them a little while back, and they are going to be handy, being able to pull the carriers out and into range of these Corruptors. Giant, man, you have no idea! Close game. This is potentially the best game of StarCraft 2 I have ever watched, and certainly had the pleasure to broadcast in my entire life. I love it. So glad I could finally bring this to everyone, because it does deserve to be seen. So, Giant now moving up into this expansion location. Just going to leave 3 Archons there to deal with it, and instead come down and try and deal with this army. Great feedback's going down on those Locusts, so the pulls could not happen. They're not even Locusts, they're called Vipers. I had no idea why I was calling them Locusts. Completely wrong unit, but oh well. Figured out now. So those Vipers are getting pulled apart by the Archons, by the feedback. At the same time, Xeno has lost that base. The Corruptors trying to deal with the carriers. Corruption's going down on all of them. They need to start focusing them down, though. One died, one is badly hurt, but they are simply tearing the ground army apart. And without the ground army, there's no way Xeno can continue to engage. This Corruptor will fall. Here, right now, it takes about, well, 2.5 volleys for him to kill a non-corrupted carrier. So we're talking maybe 2 volleys to bring the one down. But he has to be able to focus on them, not hitting the interceptors, and not being caught by those Archons. As we see, the Corruptor numbers are falling for Xeno. Right now, supplies are 137 to 139. If we take a look at the incomes, very, very even for both players. But Giant right now is the one with the mineral heavy bases. I mean, this hatchery is not alive anymore. There are very few minerals at it. This is pretty much the only base with decent minerals at it. And another big engagement going on in the center. The Corruptors once again starting to pick off carriers here and there, but simply not able to deal with this army as a whole. Giant, meanwhile, still has a lot of mineral production he could definitely hit up in the future, so he can keep making this army. Obviously, plenty of gas going on for him. More and more carriers on the way. And, well, I'm starting to worry a bit for Xeno. He's got all this static defense here, but it's kind of in a line. It's not really clumped up in the way you want it to be, and it's certainly not defending his forward bases. So, well, nearing the 38-minute mark, I'm definitely going to say Giant is ahead in this game. Giant is the one with control in this game at this point. However, should he start to lose some bases, should he start to lose some workers, things could certainly swing the other way. So, still keeping our fingers crossed for the wonderful, wonderful Xeno to hopefully pull something out of the bag here. Speaking of pulling something out of the bag, we've got an Ultralisk Cavern on the way. Of course, not so useful against these carriers, but very, very useful against this ground army of Archons and Zealots and all that other jazz. A lot of cannons going down here. Meanwhile, the Roach Hydra and, well, partly Corruptor Force moving in is going to pick off this Nexus very, very quickly, removing a ton of Chrono Boost energy, which is a blow to Giant, losing all that Chrono Boost as well as losing an entire production base. But of course, at the same time, Giant says, well, you kill my base, I'll kill your base. And that's going to hurt Xeno more than I feel like it will hurt Giant, because Xeno is now very, very low in terms of mineral bases. He pretty much doesn't have any. This has hardly anything at it. This has nothing. The main has nothing. And this has very little, and not even a hatchery finished at it yet. So Xeno is going to have to take a base at some point. Look how low these players' incomes are at right now. Of course, once he gets some workers up here, then we will see Giants shooting upwards. But meanwhile, Xeno's is going to be pretty low, especially once these go. So he's going to try and take this base over here. We can already see Giant moving in that direction. Now, Giant is torn between attacking down into this location and, of course, defending up in this location. Take a quick look. He does still have 40 probes, and we do still have 42 drones. So long as they can keep the bases up, production should be roughly equal. We do have a few of these Ultras now out. Also, Broodlords on the way. Interesting choice for Xeno to get a few of these Broodlords out. Not 100% sure about that. We'll have to see how well it works for him. Meanwhile, 2 Zealots heading down here will actually deal with this base, because they should be seeing it nonetheless. Huge attack going down. Corruptions on the carriers. Psystorms everywhere. The Interceptors doling out some sick damage at the same time. And once again, Xeno is forced to retreat, unable to take this base up here. Giant is just simply able to stop him. Xeno pushing up into that location again, but cannot continue down about this. Giant simply admiring the Ultra skin. So Xeno is establishing this hatchery here, but Giant is well aware of it and is sending now a force of zealots down there to deal with it. And honestly, no way Xeno can deal with that. Absolutely no way Xeno can deal with that. He's going to start to move down there, but it's simply going to be too late. Once these zealots charge in, this hatchery is going to fall. These zealots right now are heavily upgraded. They've got charge, so they get right in there. Look how fast this is starting to fall. If we bring these two as well. So Xeno revealing some of his game plan to Giant. And there goes that hatchery. Xeno unable to save it in time. Zealots do sick DPS, especially when you start to upgrade them. A lot of people for a very long time during Wings of Liberty were very much underestimating the power of simply mass Zealots. And right now we're seeing an Archon's greater than Ultralisk signal from Giant. We'll have to wait and see how that works out for him. Look at this center of the map. Oh my word. I guess we will see. Nice to see some banter from both players going down. Once again, I just want to take a look at the income tab. The income tab is one of the most interesting things in these late game scenarios. Look at how much the Protoss right now is outstripping his opponent and how much that will fall once this base goes. Now he needs to get into a good position. Right now the Hydras are actually holding the Ultras back, which is not where you want to be. Now the Broodlord's also moving in. He wants to get into a good position as well to deal with this army. When it moves up here, we're going to see this Nexus will fall if he chooses to focus it, which he does. But right now, not choosing to engage with this army. There's too many carriers there. There's simply too much there. And the Broodlords are so slow. They can actually get chased and picked up by these Archons. Meanwhile, Giant, I think, just wants to keep going with this push and take down this hatchery once again. And try and reduce Xeno's income to almost zero. Going in, attacking this army. We're going to see a lot of Ultras start to get picked off. And Giant has cut Xeno off from his hatchery. So you can guarantee that should be falling pretty shortly. Giant doesn't want to follow Xeno into all this static defense. That's too much to fight when you're up against that army. But if we take a look, it's 197 supply to 143. So Xeno is in a lot of trouble. 45 drones to, well, 39. 45 probes to 39 drones. But look at this income. It's so even. It's a base for a base. There is one mineral patch here. It's got 240 minerals left in it. This one's got 45, and then this one's got 25. Xeno desperately needs a base, but so does Giant. Giant does still have this, however, to mine from, and if he can get this up, he will stand in good stead. Starting to work on the static defense of his opponent now. Just slowly clearing out the creep. Slowly clearing out the spine crawlers and spore crawlers while not engaging this army. How tense is this standoff? I cannot believe it. Okay, we're seeing corruptions go down. One carrier does fall and a Psy Storm goes down on his own units. Sickest panic Psy Storm ever. Meanwhile, Xeno trying to re-establish a hatchery just somewhere on the map. Xeno needs some income. He's down to 40 mineral income compared to 600 of his opponent, and that's a real problem because he is at 170 odd supply, whereas his opponent is at 199. And this army is just incredible. Look at the amount of High Templars that are there. Look at how many Archons are there, and he's still got all the carriers from before. Xeno, my man, how are you going to come back from this? How are you going to hold this? I just don't know. We are 47.5 minutes into this game of StarCraft 2, into this CVP, and Giant, no! Giant is headed for the last real base that Xeno has! Leave him alone, you monster! And, well, this hatchery is dead, these drones are dead. Once this is done, we're just going to see how many worker kills on both sides have happened in this game. Because Xeno is counter-attacking up at this base. 65 to 83. Okay, if anything illustrates how this match has gone, it is that. 65 workers killed for the Protoss, 84 for the Zerg player. So much static defense to stop any further counterattacks. But there's just no mining. There's just no mining. Giant is mining here. Xeno is not mining he's mining one patch here. That is it. His income is switching between 20 and 40, depending on the long distance mining here. Meanwhile, his opponent is long distance mining from the base that he himself tried to set up. And now we've got Giant going for this third base, wisely skirting this static defense. Has to be careful not to get caught in here though. Neither player wants to engage head on, remember. They really want to just try and starve each other out, try and pick off each other's just bits here and there, force them to remake, force them to use up the mineral banks and the gas banks. The static defense is moving into position to help deal against this, but the hatchery is already gone. Giant, it looks like, wants to try and poke at these spine crawlers. Don't know how wise that idea is. Excuse me a second. Oh my word. And Xeno just doing everything he can right now to hold Giant off, but it is 145 to supply to 195. I don't know how well our beloved Zerg player is going to handle this Protoss opponent, who is re-establishing a Nexus here, while Xeno is once again retaking this base here. Giant, however, is already moving into position to take that out at the exact same time that Xeno is moving into position to take down his opponent's Nexus. Oh, I don't believe it! How do they keep doing this? Oh, so many more workers going down. Look at this worker kill count. We are nearly an hour into this game, just 9 minutes shy of it, and neither player can beat the other. Neither player can establish an income, and neither player wants to engage the opponent's army. It is so tense. They are simply just skirting back and forth and trying to just nibble away at the edges of each opponent's supply. Now, of course, while Xeno doesn't have that supply advantage, he still has all this static defense in here. And that's helping him every time Giant wants to try and engage. And that's a real problem Giant has. One Roach right now doing its best to kill a robo facility. Not, sadly, working out for him so well. But Giant's supply is falling. However, he is still the one player with an income thanks to this base. However, that gas income is at 0. Meanwhile, Xeno has 2 harvesters. Xeno has 2 drones now. One of those will be turned into a hatchery. That is the point that Xeno is at in this game. There's just nothing for him. There's no income, no minerals, no gas. 1 drone and 1 more hatchery being made. That is simply it. I don't know how Xeno does this. I really don't. When I look at this match, when I look at how this is, I don't see how Xeno is able to shut down Giant and at the same time re-establish an economy. Because as you can see, his opponent has 40 probes still. He still has this bit of mining here, and he's going to have this base down here. If Xeno tries to push into this, either he has to fight this army, or he loses this base and then once again has absolutely no income. I just don't know at this point what Xeno can do. It does have a very, very good army though. This is the one thing that Xeno has. With the 151 supply that he's got, this is a scary army. There's a lot of Corruptors in there, a lot of Broodlords, a lot of Ultras, but most importantly, a great deal of Queens. All at very, very high, nearly full energy for those transfuses. And that's the reason Giant is not pushing in on the attack. He just wants to establish his economy. Like I said before, starve Xeno out. He simply does not want to try and fight that army head on, especially with the amount of spines and spores that are down here. Oh, okay. So, Xeno's army, Xeno's income is re-established. Giant's income is re-established. We're getting the cube of cannons being made. It is in production. Meanwhile, Giant moving out doesn't have an observer with him, I don't think. He definitely has one though. Yeah, the observer's way away, so he's not using that to clear up the creep. But now with the addition of Tempest in this army, he can outrange the static defense. And well, Xeno, you're gonna have to come up with an answer to this. because no longer will this static defense hold your opponent off. What's his answer? His answer is to counter-attack. He says, okay, I can't fight that army, so what I'm going to do is take down your base as fast as I can. The Hydras right now, though, are trapping all his units outside of this base, so it's not going as fast as it potentially could. And with Giant only using the Tempest to clear this up, it means he's not going to be able to break through there particularly fast, so the base raise option is perhaps the best choice Xeno could have made here. And Xeno, after killing that base once again, just moves out. Doesn't want to engage too quickly, but the Tempests aren't here to fight. It looks like we are just going to get one huge engagement. Good Psystorms going down, but the Queens actually tank Psystorms quite well. Oh! Look at those Psystorms though! But all the carriers are going down. The Archons are falling. Xeno is breaking this army. Giant supply is falling so rapidly, and all of a sudden, Giant doesn't have an army. One engagement and Xeno takes it 57 minutes into the game. Giant GG's and Mythology Xeno comes out with a win. Oh, ho, ho. What a way to kick off the first week of MythCast on a brand new channel. Guys, if you want to see more from us, check us out at www.clan-myth.com. I've been your host, Jesse Voctor Rain, and I'll be back tomorrow with yet more of the GameShop MythCast.